Where along the line did you both gain a passion for painting things?
We've always been crafty.
Yeah, I think that's a common misconception about what we do is just painting things, because it's more DIY. We've always been interested. I mean, we make bows and wreaths, and we're your typical Pinterest followers who just find a whole bunch of stuff that we like on Pinterest and then figure out a way to do it on our own.
Right. Pinterest. Yeah. So did you start making a specific product, or did you just start doing project after project following Pinterest?
Not one thing specifically. Lisa does more of like knitting and the sewing. She's really fantastic at that. We tell people all the time there's a difference between being artsy and crafty. She is totally artsy. I am crafty. There's a big difference. Like if you show her a picture of something, she could repaint it. Me, not so much.
Right.
I can take a hot glue gun and a drill and turn something into a project, and she can pull out paint and yarn.
Right. What was the early days like? Did you know you wanted to start a business pretty quick after, that? Or did you, see some other business somewhere else that started doing well and kind of engaged the idea? Or
I think through the years we've talked about we should open something, we should do something. Right. And it just never, we kind of just would say it, and, it's harder to do than you think.
Mm-hmm. And the timing was never really great. Mm-hmm. I have 3 kids, and my oldest is now 20, and my middle child is 17 next month, and then my youngest is 13. So there really wasn't a great time. Both of our husbands travel Monday through Friday. So I call her my baby mama. She doesn't have any kids of her own, but she always has one of mine, at least one of mine, sometimes multiple of my children. But we never really, it just never was a good time. And I was working at a part-time job that was very flexible with my hours so that I could, have a job, because I've never been one. Daytime TV is not for me. I mean, and you can only clean your house so much. So I worked for supplemental income so that we could do things. And, Lisa has family she's always taken care of, been really active in the church. Heck, she's been really active in my kids' stuff. First day of school, I'd go in and say, hey, I'm Holley. I'm Riley, Ken, and Zoe's mom. If you need a PTO mom, if you need somebody to come to a party, this is Lisa. You're going to call Lisa, because, that's what Lisa does. So, and in the downtime, we craft together. She's real into scrapbooking, and I'm real into just putting stuff together and, things like that. And we had talked about it, a few months before Hammer and Stain came along, that, okay, it's time for me to do something. It's time for me to start actually moving back into a career and back into doing something that I love, that I want to do, and that I have more time now that the kids are older that I can do. And Lisa's like, we need to do something. She's like, you're the business side of things, and I'm the crafty side of things. We need to figure out what we can do. Mm-hmm. So we have campers down at Claytor Lake, and she pulled up on her golf cart at my camper, and she said, you got to see what I found on the internet. And I'm like, what did you find? And she pulls up this website with Hammer and Stain. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool, whatever. I sat on it a few more days, and she mentions it again. And I'm like, okay, that looks great, Lisa. Thanks. And one morning I just wake up. I'm like, what's the name of that place again? Hammered and Nails. What is it? Mm-hmm. Stain something. And She pulls it up.
I sent it to her.
And she sent it to me.
And sat on it a few more days. And then one day she messaged, she's like, let's do it. I said, do what? She said, Hammer and Stain. I was like, okay.
She's like, well, what do we do? And I'm like, first we need to go visit one and go see what we're about to step into. So the closest ones to us are in North Carolina. There's one in Mooresville and one in Yadkin Valley. So we scheduled an appointment to go to a workshop in Mooresville, and we drove down. I think it's like 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
2.5 hours we drove down. We took a workshop, and we got in there. We were like, this is really cool. And then the owner of that one, her name is Nora, we started picking her brains with everything. We're like, so how do you get your wood in here? She was like, I buy it. And I'm like, but how do you cut it? She's like, with a saw. And I'm like, you cut this wood? You put all this together? And I'm like, what about all this? She's like, yeah, I do it. And I'm like, we left there. I was like, Lisa, we got to cut wood.
Right.
Yeah, we
can do it.
And she's like, we can do it. And I'm like, man,
I'm a cheerleader. We can do it.
I'm like, I'm going to cut a finger off. This is so not good idea. So we sat on it for about another week, and I'm like, let's do it again. Let's find another one. So we found another one, and we drove the 2 hours down to it. And the owner of that one, Derek and LaDawn, and we picked their brains. And then I'm like, okay, tell me about this cutting wood. Because the whole concept of, cutting stencils and painting and some of those other things weren't very scary, but every time they kept saying, I'm like, how do you build that shelf? They're like, we build it. And I'm like,
and they were great too. They were very enthusiastic and, very helpful, willing to share, this is how we do it. This is, and we left there thinking, I think we can do this,
Right. I'm imagining Hammer and Stain helped with the pricing of things, or did you kind of, does the pricing vary on where you get your products from? How do you come up with how much each spot costs?
We have a formula. We have a broke down formula. I know this is going to sound really nerdy, but we take the number of seeds we sell each month, factor in the cost of the supplies, insurance, rent, Lisa and I's wages. We have an employee. So we take all those numbers into a Microsoft Excel sheet, and I put in how much the product costs, and I have a formula that it pops out and tells me what the product should be.
That's perfect. Yeah.
I'm a geek.
I love breaking it down like that.
I love a spreadsheet.
Right.
Come on now.
Yeah, we are spreadsheet.
We're spreadsheet people.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you gotta be, especially, starting a business, which, Mercer County is not as rural as some places, but in a rural area, you got to be really specific of like, well, this costs this, we're paying out this.
We do. And, and the biggest thing for us is because we are so rural, we do not have a lot of options when we purchase our materials. So, some places they can be more competitive because they can go with a Lowe's or a local lumber yard or a Home Depot. They can be more competitive at Hobby Lobby or Michael's or Joann's or other fabric or DIY shops. We don't have that option, and a lot of times, we spend a lot of time pounding the pavement, running from. We try to keep as much of our business local as we can. We are very, very adamant about that. But sometimes you just have to order stuff off of Amazon, and that that does mark your price point higher. We also use a lot of the other Hammer and Stains to try to gauge our pricing. But, the cost of living in each area is extremely different, and, we can't offer the same price. So there's a lot of projects sometimes we just don't offer because of how much it costs for us to build it and to put it out there.
Mm-hmm. So you all keep with the other Hammer and Stains, you have like a group chat, or do you meet like once every quarter, or? We
have a Facebook page, a Facebook group that all of us are on, and we are all very active all day long. Our phones are going off. Somebody's asking for help. We also have met each other in person. We have a retreat or conference just about every year. Anytime there's new Hammer and Stains open, they do a training that we're all welcome to go to. So we get to keep in touch with each other. You make those relationships, and now it's not just on a Facebook page, but you're getting phone calls, or you're getting, we've had other Hammer and Stains do like we did. We went to North Carolina to visit other Hammer and Stains, and we've had, the lady from Bridgeport and the girls from Roanoke, they come into our shop and they're like, okay, we want to do this. Tell us, what we need to do. And we try to give them the best information that we can. Mm-hmm. We also don't lie to them. It's like, girls, this ain't easy. It's hard. It's a lot of work. We're about to move this desk out and a futon in here. So,
right.